I dreamt the exact thing. Like,
Yeah.
there was one moment where I was like, oh, like, my uncle's about to, like, point out something in the window here.
It happened.
And then that exact same thing happened.
Subscribe! Before I started the show, I was like, have you guys, when I first started this series, this franchise, I was like, we'll do a lot of like conspiracy theory talks and a lot of weird fringe science-y talks. And it's been a long time since I've done any of that. So I said to these guys, you've seen it recently in the news, that's worthwhile. And Jackie just goes, have you thought about glitches? I was like, what? She's like, yeah, glitches. And it sounds like you've been like writing down glitches?
No.
What is that?
No.
You have like a log?
No, on
you
TikTok.
Keep of glitches?
No, on TikTok.
Oh, TikTok. Okay.
It's Glitch Talk. And
Glitch Talk on TikTok.
Yeah,
Let's go.
Like my whole TikTok feed. And but it's really like, okay, so I was saying one. Should I just like say some of the cool ones?
Yes. Explain to the people what glitches are.
Well, so I mean, it's like glitches in the Matrix kind of glitches.
So like when some funky weird shit happens in the world, there's actually like, it's because there's something wrong with the simulation. Something broke on the computer system the simulation that we're living in, something has gone awry.
Yes, like the whole basis is like I don't know, like there's multiple universes and somehow like it rips a hole and whatever.
Yep.
So, like,
Wires get crossed, something skips a beat, something's broken, right, glitches.
So like the one that I was telling you guys was this girl and her sister were getting food and it was like a place 10 minutes away. So she orders, like they're like, it's gonna be ready in 15 minutes, waits 5 minutes, and then drives 10-minute drive, ends up at the restaurant, grabs the food, about to get back in her car, and her sister calls and is like, where are you? And she was like, I'm coming back. Like, I just got here. And she was like, you've been gone for 3 hours. She checks the time. She was gone for 3 hours. Or like the time was 3 hours ahead, but she was like, the only thing that she had done was driven and gotten there. Mm-hmm. And so she was like, there's no way that happened. And they like went back and like they were trying to figure it out. Still haven't figured it out. And then there were like a bunch of other comments and that being like, this happened to me. Like there's a bunch of different people who like have had the same thing. Like,
so like lost time.
Yes, lost time. And then there was this other one and this girl, so she was like sitting up in her room and she like heard her parents. I don't know any of like I don't know if I should be like giving the TikTokers names. I don't know them, but she was sitting up in her room and like her mom and her stepdad like come back from dinner. Like they were at dinner and they come back. She like says hi to them. And then the dad's like, do you want to go in the garage to the mom? And the mom's like, yeah, sure. She was like, it's kind of weird, but like, whatever. So then they go in the garage and like, she goes back up to her room and then she's like, where like have they been? And then she goes and is like calling for them. They're not home, goes to the garage. Nobody, like lights are off or everything. So then she calls and she was like, where are you guys? Like, did you guys leave and go back? And they were like, what do you mean? Like, we've been here the whole time. Or we were like at dinner this whole time. And then she was like, she didn't say anything. And then they come back and that exact same thing happens, which is interesting because
like the conversation happens again.
The conversation happens. They go in the garage. I forget why. They were like, they're getting something from the garage. And that exact thing happens. And then there was a bunch of other comments that,
So wait, just to recap that. She has a conversation with her husband and he's like, come into the garage.
Well, this is the daughter and she witnesses this conversation between her mom and stepdad.
Okay.
The stepdad's like, do you want to go in the garage?
Right.
For some reason, she couldn't really like figure out why or something. I don't think that's important.
So then she goes into the garage.
The stepmom and the mom and the stepdad go into the garage and then she like doesn't go in the garage and then she didn't ever hear them come back. And so she was like, what are they doing in the garage? Goes like checks the garage and then like checks the whole house.
They're not there.
And they're not there. Calls them and whatever.
So she witnessed them have that conversation, but they were at dinner that whole time.
Yes.
And then they come home and they do that same conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's like when I had deja vu the other day on some people believe that deja vu is like a glitch in the Matrix. And I swear to God, man, John was sitting there. We had some guest on the show, I think, or maybe not. I don't know, but he was talking about Lady Gaga and saying something in French or whatever. And in that moment, to my core, in my bones, I could have sworn that we did that before. I had that conversation with John, and there was something in the news about Lady Gaga and something in French. And what was wild is I got a email from someone, I think on the Kevin Clancy show, or a tweet that was like, I had deja vu at same moment. And that freaked me out because, like, so the idea of deja vu is, you think this has already happened and something is triggering in your brain. And some people believe that's where this simulation that we live in, the fabric of the universe or the timeline that we're on, just skipped a beat like a CD skipping, and your timeline got out of whack and you kind of did experience it again and then got back on course. Or a bigger, more nefarious thing, like someone's running this and they fucked up for a second and let you in on the secret that you're not even controlling your own life, that this is already a set path for you of something that you've already experienced. But that's all, I also don't, I'm sure there's just a scientific explanation, but when someone else tells you that they had deja vu in the same exact moment, that's fucking weird.
Wait, was it in the moment that they were listening to the
Yeah,
podcast?
like I wish I could remember. I meant to fucking screenshot it. I think it might have been an Instagram DM, but they were like, dude, I had the same deja vu. And I think he was saying like I don't know what, fuck, I should have followed up. Because it was like, are you meaning that you've heard me have this conversation? That's your deja vu? Or you're having deja vu that you heard John say that already, or you had deja vu that something with Lady Gaga like this did happen. You remember what I was talking about with Lady Gaga. But when two people are having it at the same time, then I start to get all freaked out. But there
was one time when I was younger, and like I always like put it off, or like I always like dismiss it because I was like, hey, like the older I got, the more I dismissed it. But then when I was watching like the glitch talks, I was kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
But so when I was like 7, 8 or something, I went with my family in Atlanta and we visited like the Coca-Cola factory or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And then I went there and I realized like I'd seen it all before. And like a few nights before I'd had that exact dream of like, and again, like now that I say it back, like I don't believe it, but like this, I was
you dreamt the Coca-Cola.
I dreamt the exact thing. Like
Yeah.
there was one moment where I was like, oh, like my uncle's about to like point out something in the window here.
It happened.
And then that exact same thing happened. I was like trying to tell people and like nobody, like everyone's like, oh, deja vu.
Yeah.
But it was like the whole thing. And I was so
In the
positive I had
moment
the
you
dream.
said like, you're feeling it?
I think I said something and because I remember something, like now it's all blurry, but I remember like it being dismissed. I think I said something after the fact, but then I remember like.
Well, that's where like, you're never going to know what's in the moment. You're never going to know if these things are going to matter, but it's almost like you wish you wrote everything down or had everything documented, because also what's going on here is like, I think the idea of human memories fuck me up big time, because certain things can be by other people, right? Where you're just like, you remember that time we were hanging out and like you fell down the stairs? Like you're there. That second person is there to be like, no, that's not what happened. Like he fell down the stairs, something like that. But if it's just you having a memory about your life, there's really no way to know if that's real or not. Your brain, like, and we all know people who make up stories, right? Like I have family members that the joke is how much they embellish and fabricate and lie. But when they're telling us those same stories, you can tell by their expression and by their excitement, they fucking mean it. In their mind, in their world, that shit happened, right? And I'm laughing because, these family members will tell stories about like, then they got in a fight and they punched them. And then, we sped off in the car and the cops, you know what I mean? Like things that are just like, no, dude, that's not, you're not in the Fast and the Furious. That didn't happen. But to them, put a lie detector on them. I think they 100%, they're not like, oh, I'm going to lie to look cool and I hope they believe me. They are just retelling a story, recalling their version, and they really believe it happened that way. Now that's silly because, like I said, these details are so absurd. But what about normal memories that I have about myself and about my life? Like, who's to say I'm not making those memories up? Again, when there's someone to corroborate or tell you yes or no, yes, I had the exact same memory, then, that's how it happened. But when you're recalling things from, 20 fucking 35 years ago, there's really no way. And then it's like you wake up every day. It's like you could almost be like waking up every day and they could be giving you new memories, like whoever's running the show. You know what I mean? And you wouldn't even know it. Like, I wouldn't imagine if today I have these feelings of like what I did as a kid and who I was and where I came from and all that. And what if tomorrow they wiped that clean and gave me a whole new set of memories and I just think this is the new memory this time?
I think it's really weird that it's like, okay, a dream. Like, you don't know how you get there. I mean, like, everybody says this, but you don't know how you get there. You don't know how you leave, but you just remember bits and pieces.
And then when you have recurring dreams too.
Also, here's my new other theory is I what if we're the own, it's just you and you're the own architect of your, sometimes when I'm really tired, for example, I'll see a lot of construction. I always just think it's my brain maybe being too lazy to build the world around me or something like that. Or sometimes when I'm really anxious, I'll see a bunch of homeless people. I'm like, what if it's just
fabricating it
and projecting onto the world. And then everything that you see is just because you make up every single scenario.
Well, that's what I'm saying is I feel like I'm pretty very, very real and solid and sane. I really do. I think that. So I don't think that I'm fabricating everything, but I think there's levels to it. And it's your brain might be a little more triggered or experiential or experimental. And then someone else's, because of things like dreams, at some point your brain turns off while still running and fabricates a whole world that in that moment feels like you've lived it your whole life, where you're I was married, but it wasn't to you, it was to someone else. But it in that dream, you felt like you knew that person their whole life. And it's if your brain can do that while you're asleep, and we just and we just take it as yeah, you were having a dream. No big deal because nothing happens. You're asleep, you wake up, then it just goes away. But why can't it do it when you're awake?
Yeah.
And when they say we only use 10% of our brains, well, what if you use 15%, 20%, 30%? And these other percentages are things that are more tangible, It's you use your brain and it's all happening in between here. But what if when you access other parts of your brain, it's more out here where you're starting to see things? When people talk the way you see, what do you see? You see the alphabet or something like
that? The numbers.
Yeah, you see numbers in a certain way.
Numbers with personalities.
Yeah, I guess it's more like that. Like my mom and my sister, when they think about the months of the calendar, they see it in this swirling thing. It goes January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, and they have this shape in their head. When I think of a calendar, when I think of the days of the week, I see boxes on a calendar, but it goes Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then there's a box on top of Saturday, that's Sunday. And then that goes. And then there's a box on top of there, and that goes. So it's steps. And that's just in my head, but that's your mind making something visual that is supposed to be intangible, right? But why can't that become literally visual at some point?
Wait, also, so your mom, but your mom sees everything's in lines.
And yeah, so right? My mom will look at the door, there's a line, then the actual door itself, there's where the hinges are, the crease, that's a line, and the door itself is a space, then there's another line, then that bit of the wall is a space, and she just looks around line space, the shelves, the walls, the TV.
Because that's binary, so it's if we were all just a simulation, it's interesting because that's the basis of every code. What if she just has some sort of split in her brain?
And you wouldn't know it.
You wouldn't know it.
And that's where I also just think that people who are like philosophers or people who think more. I mean, can you imagine the first guys who really sat there and were like, what the fuck is going on? Like, why are we here? What is this about? And that's why religion exists and God exists, because it's like, we just need to make up a story where this guy put us here, because why else would this even fucking happen?
All right, we got to get to 100,000. I want that 100,000 plaque. We've got a goal for all you out there, for everybody. At 100,000 subscribers, Polly Feidelberg will join us on the show, maybe. Well, if not, we'll probably have to trick her into it. But at 100K, you will get Polly content. So subscribe, click the bell icon so you get notifications so that you're always watching. Leave a comment below. Talk about it. Post about it. Spread word. Tell your friends. 100,000 subscribers on KFC Radio for Polly Feidelberg. Let's make it happen.